I have a lot of respect for Kyrie Irving. I loved what he did, following his own thoughts of the COVID vaccination, not taking the vaccination, standing down, not doing what the NBA wanted him to do, not doing what the Nets wanted him to do. He spoke out on Instagram, speaking about some of the stupid things he's done in the NBA, stupid things that he said, and he apologized to the fans. All the things that he has done, not only rudely, not only stupid in the NBA, this particular thing, after the season ended miserably, getting swept by the Boston Celtics, this man just can't disappear. He has become the center of attention here in New York. Not for the good, but only for the bad. And the Nets are going to have to make a decision in the offseason, being that he is going to want an extension, because he is a free agent, what they're going to do with this man. Because to bring this guy back when he has been nothing but a cancer in the locker room, everywhere he's gone, he is a sensational player. I think he's a top 10 player. Some people would say he was a top 5 player in the league this year. And a lot of people have said that him and Kevin Durant are the best tandem in the NBA. That's not saying much. Kyrie thinks he's a martyr. And it's so funny. We were at break. I looked up the definition of martyr. The Webster Dictionary. A martyr, a person who is killed because of a religious or other beliefs. Is Kyrie Irving dead? Is Kyrie Irving that religious to believe that he is a martyr? The answer is no. And to go on social media, on Twitter, and say the things he has said, not only about some of the players and some of the analysts and press throughout the NBA, saying that they're racist, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, they don't shut their mouths, and they don't know how he feels as the center of attention as a professional athlete. Speedy, why don't you read off some of the dumb, ridiculous things he has said all over social media?
When I see my name or my brother's/sister's name getting spun through the media, I refer to all my research about who they are. Their job is to control public perception, all while profiting off discussing, discrediting, and disrespecting people's lives for entertainment. I send shots at the puppet masters, not the puppets. All puppets do is run around society trying to gain popularity and state opinions. What a life. My name is worth billions to these media corporations. My brothers and sisters who deal with this know exactly what I mean. When you become free mentally and spiritually, there is not much this twisted/racist society can surprise you with. My ancestors left behind all of the wisdom and truth.
Your ancestors. Oh, just your ancestors. Okay.
And truth for all the agenda to be exposed. When you know exactly who they are, they can't hide from their filth. A lot of these media corporations make their money by degrading Black/African/Indigenous community heroes. They thrive off of it and then sell it back to us by having a hand-selected person or group of people spark controversy about them for the world to see. Just watch all of the people who wake up every day and report about people's lives on TV and social media and then profit off of them. Then they justify their jobs by saying they get paid to say how they feel. LOL, it's like these people live in a fantasy.
Kyrie, let me ask you a question. Why do you play in the NBA? You make millions and millions of dollars when players and people could never see that kind of money in a lifetime. You have been nothing but a joke as a professional athlete. You have been nothing but a joke as an athlete that has been nothing but the center of attention in a league, in a place like New York City, where you decided to go and try to win a championship in, where you're not even the best player on the team. Kyrie Irving has been nothing but a cancer since he's come to New York. He has done nothing. He has won nothing. He's never won anything, except when he went over there and played with LeBron James. And it was the only reason why he won was because of LeBron James. He finally wanted to go to a team where he could be a leader, a team could follow him, and he failed miserably in Boston. He leaves Boston, and now Boston's one of the best teams in the NBA. He goes to Brooklyn. He plays with one of the greatest players in the league, and Kevin Durant. They make a trade, bring James Harden in there, and they win nothing. They're 13-3 in the 16 games they played together.
Nice football team.
And all Kyrie Irving does is speak. And it feels like every time he speaks, he looks more and more stupid. I don't know why the Brooklyn Nets, the executives, a.k.a. Sean Marks, and Steve friggin' Nash hasn't told Kyrie Irving to shut down his social medias. Because this man has made the Brooklyn Nets the laughingstock of the NBA. It's not the New York Knicks anymore and James Dolan. It is the Brooklyn Nets. A Brooklyn Nets team that underachieved this year. They get knocked off by a Boston Celtic team that had a very good season. One of the youngest teams in the NBA. Don't even have the stardom of a Kevin Durant and a Kyrie Irving. Tatum is a superstar. He's an up-and-coming superstar. Jaylen Brown is becoming a superstar. He's an up-and-coming superstar. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they have won nothing together. I understand they're both champions. One with LeBron, the other one with Golden State. Do you notice they both had to play amongst superstars to win? They couldn't do it for themselves. Kyrie was over there with the Cavaliers all those years until LeBron went back over there to win with him and Kevin Love. And then Kevin Durant played with Russell Westbrook, James Harden in OKC, never won over there, and had to jump ship and go and play with the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. This is an embarrassment. And if the NBA doesn't shut this man up, the Nets should. He should not be speaking. And if I was the Brooklyn Nets right now, I would find a trade partner and get rid of this man.
This personality, he might be a martyr. He might have a dead head.
His brain's not working.
The earth is flat, brain's flat. Who knows what's going to go on next? And at what point are we going to say that maybe Kyrie Irving was mainly saved by LeBron James in terms of the stability factor? I'm not saying him as a player.
One of the greatest talents the NBA's ever had. Allen Iverson says he's the greatest ball handler he's ever seen. And that's arguably the best ball handler that ever played in the NBA. When Allen Iverson is saying Kyrie Irving is one of the greatest all-around talents he's ever seen, that tells you what he could be. He'll never get to that height because the man just doesn't shut up.
Right.
He doesn't stay out of trouble. And he doesn't get in trouble where he's going to jail, he's killing anybody or raping anybody. But what he says on and off the court makes him and his team look like a bunch of idiots.
It's what his mindset is, his work ethic, whatever it may be. LeBron has been the only one that's found a way to stabilize it. The Celtics play better without him. Even the year before, he got hurt in the playoffs. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Nets, do we need to go through that debacle? The Cavaliers before LeBron got there. We're not even a playoff team. There is a common denominator here. You need LeBron. You need somebody like that to stabilize you. Even a player as talented as Kevin Durant can't seem to do it.
And I don't want to talk about this particular story to ruin what's going on in the NBA playoffs because it's been sensational. Miami going into last night, they were up 2-0. Joel Embiid comes back, and then there was actually a showing of James Harden. And that says one thing. If he continues playing like that, this series might not be over. But with Miami, with the depth they have, Tyler Hero, who is Sixth Man of the Year, congratulations to him, by the way, Butler and Oladipo, they're going to be very hard to beat because of the depth that they have. They play team defense. They have one of the best coaches in the league, the best GM, the best executive in all of basketball running that organization, a winning organization. Yes, to New York Knicks fans. Yes, to James Dolan, that if he just stopped with his selfishness in the 90s, Pat Riley would be the GM of the New York Knicks, and Pat Riley would have won multiple championships for the New York Knicks, and including maybe drafting a Dwayne Wade, maybe getting LeBron James to come and play in New York. The Knicks would be a different organization if Pat Riley was running it. So thank you, James, for not doing the things right for the organization at the time that you should have. He went to Miami to stick it up. The New York Knicks, you know what? You don't want to bring me in? I know somebody that will.
But I'm sure there's a lot of other organizations that are like, look at the Brooklyn Nets, all this talent. Yeah, they don't know how to run it. Even the Sixers, look at all the bad contracts they gave out. Now they have to deal with James Harden. Yes, he finally played well in Game 3. About time. Can they come back and win the series? That is a lot to ask for against a Miami team that is that deep. Guys like Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. These are all guys that were second-round picks or like unthought of guys. It's not just the stars with Miami. So the Sixers have to find those guys if they want to have any shot in winning this series, because even if Embiid does play, how well is he going to be playing in comparison to the MVP form he played throughout the year?
Because they need the rebounding.
Sure.
They need that superstar on the court to kind of draw Miami off of James Harden and Maxey. And
Right.
James Harden, he didn't have one of those sensational games where he scored 40 points the other day. He scored 17 points. He did everything that he needed to do to keep this team in this playoff series. Does it mean they're going to win the series? No. But if Joel Embiid comes back and he can play even half as good as he did before he got hurt, they might have a chance. They have to win game number 4. They're down 2-1. Take away the crowd, take away the confidence of Miami with the talent that they have. Miami is the most all-around talented team in the whole NBA playoffs, even better than Phoenix when it comes to their bench. They have a tremendous amount of depth. And now that Victor Oladipo is at 95% healthy, that's another offensive player that they're adding to that roster off the bench. It's going to be very, very hard to beat Miami, but with Philadelphia, with their talent that they have too, they have Harris, they have Maxey, they have Harden, Embiid. They have firepower to stay in this series. The question is James Harden going to play his butt off, which we have not seen since he stepped on a basketball court as a rookie. Milwaukee and the Celtics. The Celtics absolutely destroyed Milwaukee in game number 2. Defended the Greek Freak very, very well on the perimeter, and that's how you beat Milwaukee. Keep Giannis outside of the paint. You are going to win this series. Giannis has become a better shooter. Figured out how to hit a 16-foot jump shot. This team has completely changed since he's learned how to do that. But now that Middleton is not playing in this series, it takes away another offensive firepower, good shooter on the perimeter, which puts more pressure on Giannis to do more and win by himself. I still think Boston is the more talented team and have the most depth in this series, but this is Milwaukee, and they are the champion with the coaching that they have. The Celtics have a rookie coach. Milwaukee as a whole, they have a bunch of players that have been here before, that have won a championship. I still think that Milwaukee has a chance. But Tatum has been unbelievable throughout the playoffs already. I think he's been one of the best players. Him and John Moran have been sensational, and obviously Chris Paul. Boston should win this series because Middleton is not in it. And if Boston loses this series against a Milwaukee Bucks team that is right now crawling in the semifinals, tells you one thing. With a great player like Giannis, who I think is the MVP of the league this year, you can absolutely win when you have a player of that magnitude that can lead your team no matter what is on the court.
And allegedly, this was the game where they, quote-unquote, defended him well, and he still had 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Yeah, that says a lot about the type of player he is right now. This was the first game that Milwaukee's depth really didn't showcase themselves without Middleton. But, again, it's the first one out of 5. You can't expect this to last forever. They get to go home for 2 more games, and they have guys that are veteran guys that can play great defense, can shoot, and they still have a good mixture of everything. So the Celtics...
They got to keep taking Giannis out of the game, but if somehow Milwaukee could win this series with just Giannis, and they have a lot of good players on this team. They have players like Drew Holiday on this roster, who's a good player. He is not Jason Tatum. He is not Jaylen Brown. Losing a guy like Middleton, he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's one of the best shooters under pressure in the NBA. You saw how important he was in the NBA championship and what he did against Phoenix. And defensively, too, on the perimeter. He's a pretty good defender, too. Losing a player of that magnitude is crazy. But if anybody could do it, it's Giannis. And if Giannis could pull this off and somehow squeak past the Boston Celtics, it tells you who he is as a leader and what this team is all about. I think they could. I still think Boston has the advantage. As far as the Western Conference teams, I expected this with Phoenix. No matter if they played Utah or Dallas, they are the better team. They're the best team in the NBA. They've been the more dominant team in the NBA. Yes, Devin Booker is playing. He's not 100%, but it doesn't really matter. He still scored 30 points the other day, and as Chris Paul scored 28, and really in the fourth quarter, Chris Paul took over the game again. That's why if you were to tell me, if I were to build a team right now to win a championship, who would I choose to build my championship around? My number one guy would be Chris Paul. Because everywhere this man has gone, no matter how young the team is, how old the team is, he finds a way to win. Now, you're going to say, well, he's never won a championship. That's not Chris Paul's fault. Chris Paul, over the years, has been fighting injury everywhere he's gone.
And had to play with James Harden.
If he didn't get hurt in that series against Golden State, they would have won that series. They would have went to the NBA Finals, and they probably would have won the NBA championship. Not because of James Harden, because of Chris Paul and the depth that Houston had. And Phoenix, to really set people straight, to really shut people up on how good Chris Paul is, Chris Paul needs to win an NBA championship. I think he has a great chance this year. Luka Doncic is doing everything that he possibly can. This team is not very good. They don't have enough depth. Jalen Brunson has played well in the last series. He's a guy that's going to give you 16, 17 points. He's going to give you about 6 or 7 assists, 5 rebounds. He's not a guy that's going to give you Chris Paul numbers when he needs to take over a game. He's just not that player. He's also still very young. I feel bad for Luka. Luka has been unbelievably dominant in this series, but it's not going to be enough because when you have to play Chris Paul, you have to play Devin Booker, and the depth that this Phoenix Suns have, and by the way, the team defense that they play, it's almost impossible to beat this team.
And it might have been a blessing in disguise for the Suns having to deal with what they had to go through because the Suns last year were kind of coasting through the playoffs in a way. Blew out the Nuggets in their series. They didn't blow out the Clippers, but they were playing without Kawhi Leonard against the Clippers, so they essentially had all the overconfidence. And then they were up 2-0 in the NBA Finals before falling apart the way they did against Milwaukee. But this year they had to deal with the adversity, the injuries with Devin Booker, the Pelicans bench outplaying the Suns bench for a lot of that series. Those games were close. They were really battle-tested, but the Suns have been clutch. Chris Paul has been as clutch as we've ever seen any NBA player be in the postseason, probably since LeBron with the Cavs. And it starts with Chris Paul. You're absolutely right. The leadership is just there on all fronts for him, whether it's scoring, whether it's passing, whether it's defense.
As far as the other NBA series, everybody expects this to be the best one. The one and only Steph Curry, who everybody for years have been saying has been the best guard in the NBA, which I beg to differ. And the new superstar in this league, Ja Morant, who I believe going into the series was by far the best guard going into the series.